Cape Town, South Africa, a city rich in culture and maritime history. It was Sir Francis Drake indeed who once described this as the fairest cape of all. Yet, many have foundered in the tempestuous waters here, en route to one of the most famous ports in the world. And it was here that the fastest 1.3-litre offshore powerboat cruise in the world assembled to contest the World Championship. 1.3-litre is the smallest of the offshore categories, yet one of the most fiercely contested. The sight of 20 boats leaping and twisting at around 80 miles an hour has always been a sight worth watching. Offshore powerboating, however, isn't about speed alone. Navigation plays an equally important role. The course is multi-lap, each one different, up to 10 nautical miles in length, and each to be negotiated precisely to avoid disqualification. It's an event that always kicks off with a parade, and although on this occasion the weather was a little less than kind. Day 2 promised better. At the briefing, crews were informed conditions would be surprisingly calm, but the 11 assorted laps, totalling 72.9 nautical miles, should be treated with caution following recent storms. It's time, though, for us to catch up with some of the crews, starting with the pre-race South African favourites, US Robotics.
We've been through a fairly rough patch, boat-wise, getting the boat adapted to South African conditions from Sweden, and also the transfer from Tohatsu to Yamaha. We hope that everything is now behind us.
Where do you think the opposition will be?
Behind us.
I mean, if I had to put money on myself, I think I would put a couple of bob on myself. Certainly we've got some tough competition. We've seen a lot of the guys race before when they've been across to the UK, certainly a lot of the local guys. They've learnt a lot since, and I think they've learnt a lot from us. I know they've been avidly watching our progress on Sky Sports, seeing how we're going, so I know they've sort of prepared their boats. No, they're going to have a fight on their hands.
It's a pretty experienced team, really, Pat, isn't it?
Yeah, we've also got Pete Little, who's come over as our engineer. He's an ex-world champion in this class. John Miller, obviously, with his experience. He's a very good man to have in the back, so we feel we're going well.
Well, I wouldn't come all the way here if I wasn't thinking that we were the best team, and we would certainly do our best to win.
You're the only girl racing in this World Championship. Does that bother you?
No, someone has to represent the females to show them we're as good as them, if not better. The nice thing is that the officer of the day at briefing is actually remembering to say lady and gentleman.
Now then, let's talk realistically about your chances in this championship. They're quite high, aren't they?
We're very much hoping to be on that podium this afternoon. We've just finished the Europeans in Brittany, where we came fourth, but it wasn't our weather, a little bit flat for us. So we are hoping that with the more rougher sea conditions, that our chances will improve.
There are other fancied runners. Peter Wilson, number 7, is a European champion. Mark Pascoe, number 2, is a radical development boat. And Dean Grimbacher, number 13, campaigns the Oki Manifold boat that was 3rd in last year's championship. Further down, current UK champion Ian Cutler, number 14, will start as overall favourite. And rest assured, Pat Mohan, 47, will push him all the way. And Morgan Spro, who leads the Scandinavians, may also have a say. Quite a lineup then, but as we join the action, Mark Pascoe and Martin Curry, number 2, already in trouble on lap 2, race 1. The development boat obviously not quite as developed as they thought. A barrel roll on the tight seaward mark ends the first challenge.
You all right? We're okay, yeah, that's fine. You going to race again? We don't know, it depends how we get the boat ready again. It's a new boat that we've just designed and built ourselves. And we haven't had enough time really in it before we came here. So it's quite a steep learning curve for us.
But while Pascoe and Curry take the early bath, it's Mohan and Miller taking the early lead. Race prepared by Peter Little. It's sparkling form for number 47, and by lap 5, a clear half a mile is the advantage. Not so behind, this is for second. Cutler and Bellamy, England, near side. Grimbacher and Freeber there were on the far side. Side by side, swapping the lead at almost every turn, with number 13 giving as good as they get to the vastly more experienced British crew. And if there were any doubts about total commitment from the total team before the race, this was evidence enough. Fighting every inch of the way, and conditions, it has to be said, are tricky. But Cutler on the comeback here. A timely burst from the Brit, catching Grimbacher by surprise on Mark 5, with 2 laps to go. And all observed, no doubt, in the wing mirrors of Mohan. He will know from his experience that such dogfights in the latter stages of a race can erode bigger leads than his. Everything with the tiny 1300cc engines and boats has to be precise to stay ahead. The trim, that's the bit that jacks the engine in and out. The water ballast to keep the nose down. And of course, navigation. It's a team job where the merest of miscalculations can end in tears. And let's take another look at the way Cutler did Grimbacher on Mark 5 lap 9. Out decelerating the South African on this occasion. No brakes on this machine. Just experience there. And elsewhere, Susie Woodpower and husband Simon, Great Britain, making up ground after a terrible first lap. 11th then, 6th now. Craig and Michael Lambert, South Africa, represented their country in the last championship in Hull. Not so good there, better here. This is 4th. And sandwiched between them and Woodpower, Mark Jones and Hurst van der Ploeg. Racing US Robotics, twice as fast, the message on the boat, but around 1 mile an hour off the pace here. It's a fine line between 1st and 4th. But they, like the rest, will get nowhere close to Mohan and Miller, lapping all but the top 4 now. This is psychologically brilliant in round 1, storming in for a maximum. And good news too for South Africa. Cutler has stopped with a fuel problem, and Grimbacher goes out into 2nd on his own. But in almost perfect racing conditions, peaking at over 80 miles an hour, averaging 71. The gold glistens for Great Britain in the shape of Pat Mohan and John Miller. A super show. After 1 hour, 34 minutes and 20 seconds, they reap 400 points. Right behind the South African knights in shining armour on the day, Dean Grimbacher and Mark Freeborough get the start they and their fans could only dream about. 300 points to carry into round 2. But the biggest smile would always be, you know where.
400 points, how about that?
Yes, very good. Very good one to start with, especially as it's the longest race, so it's a very important one to win. So
Did you expect to win?
We thought we'd be up there with that water, to be quite honest, yeah, because it was the wind was whipping up nicely, so we thought it'd be a battle of the backdrafts and the back boats. It certainly was to start with, until Ian Cutler broke down, and then we were well clear.
Couldn't have been better, really, could it?
Not really, no. We had a fantastic start and went from there. We never looked back.
Well, Mark and Dean, first race, 2nd place, happy?
Very happy. Happy. It's an excellent start to the 3 heats, and 300 points wasn't as good as 400, but I think 300 we're satisfied with that. I think if we could do it again, we'd have it the same.
Welcome back to Cape Town, South Africa. The Portnet 1.3 litre offshore powerboat championship, round 2 out of 3 coming up. But before that, let's catch up with the young lady on a mission amongst the men.
Well, Susie, your ambition when you came here was a podium place. In Heat 1, it was a 5th for you. Are you still on course?
A little bit disappointed with 5th. We would have liked a 3rd or a 4th even, but with any championship, the races are completely over till we finish the 3rd race. Sadly, the weather's a bit flat for us today. You can see it's a great day out there, but we've changed our props, done a bit of testing, and the locals are telling us that it does get rough very quickly, so we're still hoping, and we're planning on being on that podium by Monday.
So, day 2, race 2. This is the start, and once again, conditions a little short of the mountainous predictions. Even so, 100% concentration is required on a bumpy circuit. And no 2 bits of the course are ever the same. A good start, as always, is important, and first heat winners Mohan and Miller already with a bit to do. And acutely aware, no doubt, that Cutler and Bellamy are prepared to risk all after their first heat misery. They lead. Important here for Cutler to stay cool. He can't afford too many risks. And much as saying goes for Susie Woodpower, first round 5th was a good enough launch pad, but all that's for nothing if you can't take off in round 2. Cutler, followed by the rest. In conditions, it has to be said, a deal more tricky than Thursday's first heat. And as in the first heat, someone failed to negotiate the troublesome seaward mark. The rolling Cape swells, setting the trap. And that could well be Moan. Safety quick on hand. 99 goes up one place. Now then, is that the first heat winners? 47, yes! Moan and Miller conquers a round one in the water and out of round two. And that will throw the contest wide open. Pre-championship favourites Cutler and Bellamy, number 14, remember, with their own bad luck on Thursdays, right back in it now. And the cheers ring out again for Grimbacker and Freeborough, second again. They could well now find themselves in the lead overnight. Chased in by the Lambert brothers and the Wayne Murray nemesis. Jones and Van der Ploeg, fourth. Same as Thursday, just needing that elusive half mile to get up into the frame. Elsewhere, nemesis designer Wayne Murray with Grant Harrison were seventh, now fifth. This is for eighth. Leighton and O'Dowd near side. Nightfeet and Savareed Norway far side. Oh, Nightfeet making a meal of that. Hands the advantage to the Brit. Gets himself back under control. Leighton won't need asking twice to clear that. Now in eighth. Or is he? Well, what's going on? That's an absolutely terrible mark for Leighton. Nightfeet now back in front. And here's a rerun of a little incident earlier on. Morgan Sprow in a flat spin at the end of lap 5 out of 8. And just recovers here to stay ahead of Nightfeet. And back with Leighton. And I can only think this is a navigational error. The decision to turn the mark was a late one. And the loss of control inevitable. Full control here though. Cutler and Bellamy. 1 lap to go is the signal from the boat. And that will mean second place on the leaderboard. And there's still an ace up his sleeve, although he broke down on Thursday, a temporary fuel line repair. Got him 9th place in the end and 40 points. That might yet prove a very princely sum. So, after 1 hour, 8 minutes and 25 seconds of race 2, the crew of number 14 reaps the 400 points. But once again, the biggest cheer from the South African crowd will be for a couple of South Africans, Grimbacker and Freeborough. Now on a mission of reality in their quest for gold. Craig and Michael Lambert also doing their bit for the host. This is third. Jones and Van der Ploeg, too, in US robotics with celebrations, knowing Moen's excellent in this race would give every hope. After 2 then, South Africa 1 and 2, Great Britain 3 and 4, everything to play for in the third and final heat, and how important now the 40 points Cutler so carefully carved.
I mean, Cutler, I suppose you're going to tell me you had a good day.
It's certainly better than the last heat, yes.
Now then, those few points that you got in Heat 1 might be very important now, mightn't they?
They could come in useful, but as you know, with these World Championships, it's really a matter of doing well in all 3 heats. So I guess I think the boat that followed us in was a boat that came second yesterday as well. So I think if he gets another second place, he could actually win the championship without winning a heat.
Well, Mark and Dean, it was a pretty good day on Thursday. Even better one for you today.
I think the results, yeah, it was a very good one. The second is probably, certainly does put us in front. But it's all going to be close on the third day.
Well, we'll go out to try and win the next one, and we'll either win it or turn it over again.
A day then of ups and downs all round. And so, to race 3.
3 boats to my knowledge that can win the championship.
We've certainly worked very hard through the season to get where we are.
We need to win, basically. I mean,
We've got to win.
we'll do anything to win. We can still win the event if certain boats finish in the right place.
Also, we've got to beat the other British hopeful, which is the Sheffield Installations boat.
It was my fault really that we crashed on Saturday, so but if I was going to do it again exactly the same today, I'd want to crash again and same place if it was unavoidable. I'd rather do that than come second.
We're not there yet, and there's still one more race to go.
We all know what we've got to do, and we're all going to be racing as hard as we can.
There's no need to ask you about your tactics for the day then?
They're always the same.
All set then for the closest 1.3 litre final in years. Yellow flags his line up, and the green will set them on their way. 46.86 nautical miles the asking distance. And there it is, the final round of the Portnet 1.3 litre offshore powerboat championship is go. And this is how it is. If Cutler wins and Grimbacker is third, Cutler takes gold. If Mohan wins and Grimbacker is third, Grimbacker takes the title. If Lambert wins and Grimbacker is again third, Lambert is champion. And finally, Jones has to win and hope Cutler, Mohan and Grimbacker fail to make the top three. And that's Wilson, European champion. And look at this on the run-in in lap one. Cutler leads from Mohan, Wilson is third, and Grimbacker fourth. And Grimbacker will now know if it stays like that, silver is the best that he can achieve. Mark 1 coming up, and it's Wilson up on Cutler. And just fails to clip the leader, and that's interesting. The Guernsey men up for spoiling a couple of two parties here. Mohan moved up, here comes the rest. Jones near side, and that's a dreadful start for number 45. The experts quick to spot the gap there. This is for third. With Jones out of the way, Grimbacker must concentrate now on Mohan. Cutler leads, so fourth is not good enough for the overnight leader. Mohan and Miller, 47 have slipped a bit because that's Cutler and Grimbacker through on the inside of Mohan. That's a great mark for the South Africans. But not so hot for Curry. One finish in 3 races was his destiny. Wilson and Herrold were second, dropping back in conditions much more suited to the catamaran today. Cutler then successfully completes lap 1. In the lead, that's all he can do. The destiny of the championship rests here, and it's Grimbacker past Mohan and drops Cutler into silver medal position. No sign of Wilson. This is Harrison, fourth, his best so far. There's Wilson, fifth. No sign of Lambert. 6 is Leighton, Great Britain, and on the near side, Jones, South Africa, far side. So number 45 with it all to do still. And all sorts going on up front. Grimbacker is suddenly the fastest man on the course. Cutler is slowed by around a mile an hour. Mohan by more than that. And Grimbacker, with a stunning 70 mile an hour plus lap, is taking the lead. Quite remarkable. And there's the wash, and that's Mohan in it. He can only watch. Back with the lead. Cutler has to get it back. Looks to be lining up a cut on the inside. Yes. And Grimbacker is drifting awfully wide, fighting for control every inch of the way, but he's gone well to the right. Well, one of them's got it wrong, and my guess is it's Grimbacker and Freeborough, failing to pick up the line of sight on Mark 3. Jones now, after that dreadful start. Still much to do, but up 1 place. Back with the lead, and that's the damage inflicted. Grimbacker's little error. Not too serious, though, in the end. They still hold championship winning position. Accurate navigation, as we've said so often, crucial in closely fought championships. Well, it could have been a lot worse for number 13. The loss, no more than 50 yards at the end. Mohan third, watches and waits. But all eyes will be up front, and there they are, and it's another searing burst from Grimbacker. But this time I question the tactics. No need to beat Cutler to become champion. The priority should be looking after the machinery. And Mohan is now making up ground behind. Maybe that's it. And having said that, Grimbacker eased it up a little. Elsewhere, a quick look back now at Nightpeak Norway number 3. Still mixing it with Alan Leighton in this race. Oh, and Nightpeak gets it wrong there. Wrong side of the mark in the heat of the moment. He'll have to go back. That's a repeat of their little duel, remember, in Heat 2. Well, it's all hotting up in the top 3. Grimbacker in some trouble. Mohan's mid-race charge, too hot for the South Africans, and the glint of gold has been replaced with a semblance of silver. And that was the gap. The only consolation for the championship leaders here was Mohan's speed, close on 73 miles an hour average, will quickly put him on Cutler's transom. Well, that's the way it stayed for the next 2 laps, until Miller and Moen showed their hand. But was it a game of tactics? If they stayed behind Cutler and blocked Grimbacher, Britain would lift the world title. But remember what Miller said: we'd rather sink again than finish second. Moen and Miller are through on Cutler and Bellamy, and that means Grimbacher and Freebre third are once again in gold-winning position. Here comes Cutler though on the inside. Almost clips Moen. Such is the intensity and the closeness in the closing stages. Just 23.44 miles to go. Cutler moves up again. This championship isn't over. And Cutler back in front. A super mark for the favourite. For the 5th time in this race, it's all change in the medals. The difference of opinion here now, because Cutler goes straight on, Moen goes right. In their wash, Grimbacher slows a little. Little bit of advice there from Freebre. And that's the result. A smart move from Moen in the better water. He's carved an attacking position on Cutler. Needs to push him hard though on the inside. Does so. Pressure on Cutler. But not anymore. That was a super piece of skill from Moen. He's back in front. And the pendulum swings again. And the rest of the challengers slipping away. Number 10 is the Herholt brothers, 6 ahead of Craig and Michael Lambert. They were second overnight, but the dream is surely over. Oh, there's vanishing dreams there. It's nightmares here because Cutler's gone straight on to Mark 1. Moen is heading surely in the right direction. That's the picture that tells the tale. Moen right, Grimbacher follows Moen. Yes, and they're the ones on the correct route. Freebre looks behind. Cutler corrects at last. But that's an horrendous error. The launch pad of success almost certainly now a slippery slope. From gold a few moments ago, best bet now will be a bronze as Grimbacher beats him to the mark. We're back on a rerun of that incident earlier, which really piled the pressure on Cutler, just failing to nip inside Moen. And it's that sort of pressure that builds up and leads to mistakes. And this now is a result of Cutler's later error. Little chance of catching Grimbacher, and none surely now of getting to grips with Moen. Unfortunately, it's all over too for Jones and Van der Ploeg. There's always a chance the pre-championship gremlins might limit their chances, and that's how it is. No such problem though for Moen and Miller. As in Heat 1, they will arrive at the finish line first. And that will guarantee silver, or if Grimbacher fails, it'll be gold. Just 500 metres to go. And here comes Grimbacher, flanked by Cutler. Second or third will do. They will go through now the agonising moments before crossing the line. The fear of something breaking will make every second seem like an hour. That won't bother Moen or Miller. They've been there before. And what an end to a championship. So much won, so much lost in so little time by so many. Special moment here though for Miller and Moen. Second win of the tournament, but it won't be good enough. Because around the final bend any moment now will come Dean Grimbacher and Mark Freebre. There they are. And they will become the Portnet 1.3 litre offshore powerboat champions of the world. A super performance. But not only by them, but by a 3-boat South African team, humiliated in Hull last year, and now charismatic in Cape Town. It's a fairy tale ending. Some no doubt though will look at the scoreboard and reflect what might have happened if Moen hadn't tipped over and Cutler had gone the right way. But that's racing, and in my book, the team who's consistently best deserve the spoils, and that's the way it was.
It was fantastic. It was really, really good. It was the best race we've ever been in, without a doubt, and it was really good.
I think we did it well. I think the tactics worked. It's a dream come true as far as I'm concerned for South Africa. We've been fighting to get back into the sport. We got back in a couple of years ago when we took a team to Hull, where we came 7th, and now we've got the world here, and we have a South African World Championship winner for 1996.
So you're a happy guy then?
I think I'm the happiest man, certainly the happiest man in South Africa at the moment. Very proud of what my guys have done, very proud of everybody that's worked in it. It's been a great achievement for all our South Africans who've been involved.